Hello guys, welcome back to this masterclass for the beginner in JS. And today guys, still we are learning about variables and we will more specifically talk about the let keyword, though we will also talk about constant and variable for deep understanding. So without much ado, let's get started. Is your guy once again, the wolf. Okay, buddies, welcome back. They say that I do talk more, so today I just want to let my keypad have surrendered. So let's start by creating a new file here. Or should I use this one? Let me check whether there is anything important. Okay, so I just clean all this, but not everything. I just move all these p tags here. Remove this until up here. And what else? This was CSS color. So today is just JavaScript. JavaScript. Yeah. So okay. Let me just start by saying a little thing before we start. So the let keyword was I think introduced in ES6, that was in 2015. So this let keyword has never been there in the previous versions of JavaScript. And also variables declared with let have a block of scope. And again, variables that are declared with the let must be declared before you. So you must declare a variable before you use it, especially if you are using the let keyword. And the last three variables that are declared with the let cannot be redeclared in the same scope because the let keyword is within a block of a scope, so you cannot share. If you do that, there will be a crash of variables. So let's start with these block scopes. So before that, you need to know this that back in 2015, that's when JavaScript did have introduced the block scope, and the JavaScript had a global scope and function scope. So the ES6 introduces the two new JavaScript keyword, that is the let and constant. So that's why now JavaScript at the moment is so beautiful if you look at it. So let's do these two keywords and find out. So the two keywords normally provide the scope, the block scope, and that is the let and the constant. So normally to declare a variable, to have a variable declared, you need to use a curly bracket here. So we normally do it like this. Okay, let me just create a script. As I was saying, variables that are declared inside these curly brackets, or you can call them curly braces, they normally have a scope and they are not going to be accessed from the outside scope. For example, what I mean is if I put the let keyword here and then maybe I assign a value in it, just like that. And remember this semicolon doesn't make any sense in this. So if I do this, actually what I mean here is x, I can say x variable cannot, actually this cannot be used here, right? So outside the scope, let's say we had another control copy. Let me just paste it down here. So let's say that this is variable pi. So variable, for example, this cannot be control copy. This cannot be used here. If I run, this will be a problem. So inside this scope, a variable which is created in this, it's within this scope. That's what I mean. And about the global scope, variables that are declared with a var keyword is always a global scope properties. That is, it's accessed in the whole page. For example, I can say if this is the HTML page, so if a variable has a var keyword, this one here, let me just show you a var keyword. This one will be accessed even in this scope here and the rest of other scopes, but within this page. So so a variable that is declared with a var keyword cannot have a block scope. So this has no block scope. For example, if I do this, so if I create okay, I have this already. So this one can be accessed. Let's say we had a variable y is equal to 8. So this one can be controlled copy, paste here. This one can be used here. If here to print something here, it can be seen or can be called, can be utilized, whatever you want to say. So let's again understand a little bit about the let keyword. You should also notice that the variable defined with the let cannot be redeclared. Redeclared means that you cannot be reassign again or declare again or rewrite again. Something like copying it. You cannot copy again. So you cannot accidentally declare a variable declare with a let. That's what it is what it is. So for example, with the let, you cannot do something like okay, we have this. Let's say this is the wolf, right? And then again I do like this, and then I assign or whatever I assign. Let's do mouse, right? We cannot do something like that. So that's what we mean that it cannot be redeclared, creating it again or assigning again. So you cannot do this. So again, variables defined with this now. Again, let's say this. Now this one is supposed to be let, so it cannot be done something like this. So let's talk about this out again. Var. Also, so this one, any variable which is declared like this, let's say, okay, let me just change this to var now. So let's say that we have a var called x, or let me just assign o, and it's called a mouse. This one can be declared again, meaning we can actually have something copy. We can declare just something like now wolf. Imagine we can do that. So this one can be redeclared, unlike the let keyword. And that's why normally this variable was used in the old browsers for at the moment it's not normally used for security reasons. Okay, so let's talk about this, the meaning of redeclaring variables. So actually, the declaring a variable using the var keyword can impose problems, like I said. And so the declaring a variable inside a block will also redeclare the variable outside the block, just like this. So once you do something like, let me just follow this. and maybe this. So we have this. So if I do something like var x is equals is equal var x is equal to 10, like that, I can say that now here x, we all know that is 10, right? But again, if I do something like this, so once I say that this is declaring a variable, so if I copy that and then I can paste down here, what did I do? Yeah, it's okay. So if again I do x is equal to, let's say, 6. Now what you need to know again, this will be just 6. So this is it. That's how the declaring a variable inside a block will also declare a variable outside the block. You can do that. Again, the declaring a variable using just let can solve this problem, you see. So you see, you can do something like this, but if you use the keyword let, can normally that will solve this problem, because this is a problem. So the declaring a variable inside a block will not declare the variable outside the block. So if I do the let this let, and then I do something like this, so this one cannot happen, because that's reduced. If now I come outside this, guess what? X will be, what will X be? X will be equal to 10. So once you declare this, again inside this, you will have this, but outside that it will never happen again. So that's what it means by declaring a variable inside a block, which will not declare the variable outside the block. Yes. So there is some differences between a var and let and a constant. So for example, if we say that a var, let's say we have something like this, we have a scope, and they declare and they assign. Okay, let me just do this. Should I do this really? No. Let's talk about what is good here. I think this will be better understood. So for example, the let and the constant have a block scope, meaning they have a block scope. If I let, let's let this let constant does not change. You have to remember that. For example, constant can be a pi. So they normal have a block scope. That's why they are in this block there. Let me just remove this. Again, the let and the constant cannot be declared. So once you declare this, for example, you just declare this to be constant. Okay, once you have declared this, and there can never be redeclared again. That's what good about this. And also the let and the constant must be redeclared before use. For example, we must declare them here before we start using them. For example, we want to create another one. Let's say let z be equals to x plus y. You see, so something like this. So here we have actually declared them before we use them to get the answer. So we can print this out, whatever. And also the other good thing about the let and constant is that they must be declared. I mean, they are not binded to this keyword. There is something called this keyword. They are not binded. So we have said that the let keyword on the constant does not bind to this keyword. What does this mean? So this normally this keyword actually refers to the object that is currently executing the code. For example, if we are in a block and there is a current object that is executing, then that's what does this mean at that point in that code block. I can say something like that. So it's actually the values depends on how the function is called. Yes. So for example, when the function is called as a method of an object, e.g., let's say object.method, then this refers to the object itself, right? We will talk about this in later chapters. Okay, again, the let and the constant keyword does not hoist. Hoist means that they normally be carried up to the top when you can use before using a variable before it's assigned. Yeah, so they are not hosted. Okay, lastly, what about, actually, we should talk about the not good thing about this. The first one is that the var does not have to be declared, you see, and the var is always hoisted, and the var binds to this. So this can be very confusing for now, but we will understand this as we continue. So okay, so let's talk about the declaring. So the declaring JavaScript variable with var is always allowed anywhere in a program. If you do something like, let me just delete all these first. Let's start from here, and then if I do something like var, what am I doing? Var let's say y is equals to 2. If I do something like that, and what do I mean here? I'm saying now, I can say now y is 2, right? So the declaring this again is doing something like again var, you just come down here, var y is equal to 3. You have changed the value there, so I've redeclared. So now here I can say, now here the answer is y is 3. So I've redeclared that. So the declaring a JavaScript variable with a var is normally allowed anywhere in the program, unlike the let and the constant keywords. So with the let, declaring a variable in the same block is not allowed. For example, if we do this with the let keyword now, not this. So let me just copy this. No, Control Z. Let me just create another one down here. So the block of code in here, if I use the let keyword, let's say first let's create the var, and then we just call x is equal to 2. We normally know that it's allowed. Yeah, actually this one I will do. This one we know that it's allowed. And again, let's now create the let, and now the let x again is equal to, let's say, 3, right? Now this one is not allowed with keyword let, but with the variable we have seen that it was this one is just something is allowed. It's allowed, right? But this one with the let keyword is not allowed at at all. So we can say that's not allowed. Again, if we do something like now this one was not supposed to be in a we're not supposed to be in a curly bracket. Now if we have some here, now if we do something in a scope, let's say let x be equal to 2 and let x be equal to 3. So what do you think? So what normally happens here is that this one is allowed, this one is allowed, and the second one is not allowed because we have talked about the let keyword. So in the same scope is not allowed. Even if in the global variable is not still allowed. Yes. Okay. So not allowed. Again, if we have let's say this, I think I'm used to copying things. Copy. Okay, let's say that x is 2. Again, if we change this now to var, again we sign this, still not allowed, but this one is allowed. You see, so let has to exist only once. You can see this copy, it has to exist only once, even if they share the same scope with a var. Again, it's not going to allow var to use its variables. So let's talk about the declaring a variable with a let in another block is actually allowed. So if we have a different block here, can I use this now? Okay, if I do something like this, I have some blocks here. Let's say we have this let x be equal to 1. We know that this one is allowed, right? But if we have a block here, and let's say now let's copy this, control copy, and now let's assign a 3 here. But now this is a different block, right? So in a different block, this one is allowed because it's in a different block. Yeah. Again, if we have another block, let's copy this. So remember, think about the global scope and the local scope. Let's call this a local scope. So copy, control P, and again if I say x is equal to 4 here, this one also is allowed because it's a different scope. So if we have so many scopes in this page, we can have something like that. But within the same scope is not going to work. For example, just let me just repeat this. If I do something like that, in the same scope is not allowed. So Control Z, remove this. So lastly, let's talk about the let hoisting. So variables defined with a var are hoisted to the top and can be initialized at any time, meaning you can use the variable before it's declared. For example, I can say this is okay, this thing I want to do here, which is okay. If I have a car name just like that, and then I assign it most to the Volvo, okay, and then I come down here now, I click var, then I can now declare and assigning it. So control V, now I've declared it. So this is something which is very okay, because let's try this. Let me see how long is this. Okay, I don't know whether I can do this, but let me just copy and then I do it. Okay, so what I meant here is that variable with var can be used before they are declared. This is what I've done here. So you can see I have this example here where we are trying to understand the hosting, what we mean by hosting. So, and we say that hosted means that the variables are placed to the top and can be initialized at any time. So here we had this name, which is car name, and you can see we have not done what? We have not declared it, but we have assigned it, right? So you can see that now we are trying to print something which is not yet declared. So we have printed something out, and then after that is when that now we are declaring here. So this is what we mean by hosting to the top. So if I run this, let me just save and browser. You can see in our browser we'll be having the Volvo. Oh, with var you can use a variable before you declare it. It's a program somewhere. Hold on a little bit. Okay, I did not call this ID, which was demo. So okay, I should copy the whole of this. Control copy and just paste in here. So let's save it again and reload over here, and you can see that Volvo is here. And I did already say that this is variables var is supported with Explorer here. Okay, so again that is it about hosting. So if you want to learn more about this hosting thing, you can go and study JavaScript hosting topics online on YouTube. You can get some hints there. So variables that are defined with the let are also hosted to the top of the blog, but not initialized. So meaning using the let variable before it's declared will result in a reference error, because you cannot use let before declaring it. So if I do something like this, like car, okay, yeah, let me just use this. If I do something like that and then I come back here, then I declare it now, like that, trust me, is going to give us problems. So that is it for today, and hope this lesson was useful. You learned something, and if you like it, please make sure you subscribe and or like and share with your brother and sister. Thank you so much, and see you in the next lesson.